Good afternoon, you guys. Welcome. This is officially going to be season 2 of the podcast.
Ooh, breaking in season 2.
I know. And Rachel's here to break it in with us. And it's actually afternoon. I don't know why I have to announce the time every time, but it's daylight out. So that is huge. We have Honey here today and Poppy. So Honey is Rachel's new dog.
Don't mind her.
She is a Cavapoo as well as Poppy. And it's so funny how similar they are.
But also different.
But so different. Cavapoos are the most, I feel like, I've had a lot of dogs throughout my years. A lot of dogs. I don't think I've ever gone without a dog.
Definitely not.
Definitely not. I'm always have to have a dog. Anyway, they are very particular dogs.
Yeah.
And they have weird quirks that you're like, are you part cat and human at the same time?
It's funny because when you read about the breed, it says they're super friendly, which they are. It's she'd never bite, but they growl at everybody.
Everyone.
They're very cautious. I
think
timid,
they're just very scared. So their initial reaction is to just growl at you.
Yeah, they're it's a suspicious growl, not a mean growl.
You're I'm gonna smell you, but I'm gonna Poppy will smell people, but she's growling, and I'm she's not, and it's not even a scary growl. It's just a
and half the time they're their tail is wagging, but you're stop.
It's almost like when a cat purrs. That's what I imagine it being like. I'm stop it. So anyway, we are going to do just another best friend podcast. There is a lot of stuff that we haven't talked about that I feel like we should cover. A lot of questions that we'll cover, but I figured I Googled, I'm best friend, things to ask your best friend. And long story short, if you haven't heard our other podcasts before, Rachel and I met from church.
Yeah.
We were 6.
Yeah, elementary.
So yeah, so young. Even our kids are older than the age that we met, which is so weird to me sometimes I think about.
It is weird.
They're now.
It's I don't know life without you.
No. I don't
honestly.
want to either.
No.
Knock on the wall. I don't even talking about it. Yeah. I think one of the biggest questions we get all the time is us fighting and if we've never not talked. And we have covered that before. But there was only one time that we didn't talk and it was a week.
Yeah. Now it's maybe a day to cool off. But I think it bothers us to not be speaking. So it's let's talk it out.
It's very bothersome.
Obsess about it.
It's the only thing I can talk about.
Yeah. So then I think our husbands are talk to each other.
Talk about it.
We're tired of hearing for the past.
I know. Did you
12
talk
hours.
to her? I'm no, I didn't. Okay. So I Googled some questions, some random questions to ask your best friend. And they're super random. Have you ever had a crush on a cartoon character? Like a prince.
When
you were younger.
Definitely.
You know who I think I feel has always been so cute is Flynn Rider.
That's who I was gonna say. And I feel I was more of an adult, but I was oh man, Flynn Rider's way cuter than our freaking princes were.
Yeah. Well, our princess back in our day is Snow White and Cinderella.
Well, they kind of all looked the same.
Yeah.
I feel in Sleeping Beauty and Snow White, the only difference is they changed his hair color.
The hair
one
color,
has blonde and one has brown.
They look very similar. They're tall, have the same facial features. None of them were really that cute back then.
John Smith, I feel I thought was cute in Pocahontas.
Yeah, I can see that. But nowadays, I'm they're making him cuter.
Way cuter.
I'm Flynn Rider, I think, is probably my all-time favorite.
Me too.
Cute guy.
I was literally going to say that.
And I was, for real, an adult. I'm
yeah.
Wow.
Jada would watch it when she was 3 and I was oh, Flynn Rider's cute.
I like him. Okay. So these are just seriously so random. What's your favorite childhood memory? And it doesn't have to necessarily be with me, but your favorite of all time.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
That's
a lot of our memories actually are together though.
Yeah.
Because we were together more than we weren't together.
Right.
Even though we didn't go to the same school. Oh my God, we were just talking about this the other day. So I was telling this to Tony and Lisa.
Oh gosh.
I go, They were talking about like high school or whatever, and I go, did you know that I visited your school once? And he goes, you did? And he's like, why? I'm like, I randomly had the day off of school. And I said, how did that even come about?
I don't know, but like, so Tony is one of my oldest high school friends.
Yes.
Literally known him since kindergarten.
Yes. Tony to Rachel is like Jason to me.
Yeah.
We both have like a guy friend that we were like best friends with growing up.
Yeah. And still talk to.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, I don't know if we were at church and then you were like, I don't have school tomorrow, or I don't know. It's so weird.
And on my day off, I chose to go to school with Rachel
and just sit there through all my classes.
I went to every single
she went
one
on
of your
the
classes.
bus with me.
Yep, I did. I
Oh
I met
I feel like that would not fly these days. Like nobody that doesn't go to school is allowed.
Like,
I mean, you have to like buzz in and show your ID and all the things.
I can't even go to like Grayson to go have lunch with him. Did your mom ever have lunch with you at school?
No, but people's parents did.
Yeah, my mom used to bring me Taco Bell, and it was like my favorite thing ever. Or McDonald's randomly. Yeah. But you can't do that anymore. But yeah, back in the day, I went to school with Rachel, went to all of her classes, and I do you remember they would pull up a chair next to your those desks?
Yeah.
And I just
sit there listening to my lessons.
So freaking weird.
It was in 9th grade.
Yes. Yep. So hilarious.
That is funny.
Okay. What do you think is the most annoying quality a person can have?
Liars.
I feel like there's more than just one.
That's like a personality trait to me. That's like super. Like I'm like, I don't get it.
But also, you know what's so annoying to me sometimes? Really, really excessively late people.
Yes.
And it's almost so, because
like
Ethan and I,
really rude.
Yeah, we podcasted the other day or whatever, and he said if somebody's 15 minutes late, he's like annoyed. And I'm like, oh no, he said 5. Sorry. I was like, oh, that's like barely late to me. 5 minutes?
Yeah.
I'm like thinking if you're like 20 minutes to a half hour late, I'm like, it's annoying. And some people are just like chronically late. It's like a thing.
I know people like that. Where you're like, oh, you better just like tell them a half hour earlier because.
Or hours. That's even worse.
Yeah.
So, but lying is it also is very annoying to me.
You know what else is a really annoying trait?
Yeah.
Know-it-alls and one-uppers.
Ugh. Don't even get me started.
Where you're like telling a story and they're like, yeah, well, one time and you're like, oh, cool, I didn't finish my story. And then they feel like they have to like one-up you or like.
That I don't like.
Correct you.
Yes. Yes. Rachel will correct me sometimes. If I say a word wrong. She's like, did you mean? I'm like, yeah, probably. Most of the time, I feel like I'm talking, but I'm not like fully like thinking about what I'm saying. Yeah. So sometimes I'll say.
I feel like that's part of your ADD brain.
Yeah.
So I like just to like, Court, just to let you know.
Like I was literally doing a protein thing, talking about my protein, and it literally said like chocolate fudge. And I was like, it's chocolate peanut butter. And Ethan's like, no, it's not. I'm like, oh yeah. But I don't. Yeah.
It's funny because like she used to say suffocating.
Yes.
Ethan is suffocating me.
Poppy, your butt.
Like,
I know. And then now I say it, and I'm like, you're suffocating me. I have to like really think about it.
But that's like you with Ethan when he says out of bounds.
Oh my gosh, I can't.
And you're like, Ethan, it's out of bounds.
Bounds. It's a bounds.
A boundary.
A boundary. And he's like, so we'll watch football. And it literally triggers me every time.
It would to me too, because I'm like, you played football in college.
Can you just imagine me doing gymnastics and then calling something just like you did it for so many years? I'm like, nobody in your football like team corrected you that you're all out of bounds.
I mean, you kind of say it so fast that maybe they didn't even like
it sounds
register, but
yeah, it could sound correct, but it's not.
Yeah.
But yeah, one-upping, and that is also very triggering.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of growling.
Yeah. It's just like a grumble. That's what I feel like. Oh, this is a good one because we talk about this all the time. If you were a ghost, how would you haunt people? I think about that all the time. I would totally haunt Ethan. The way I would do it is I personally would be like just like tease somebody.
Yeah.
Like turn off and on the lights.
Yeah.
Or like the fan all of a sudden just like randomly
Just
going.
like mess with people that you like.
You know what would freak me out if like there was a ghost is if you're all of a sudden like just reading your book and your TV goes on or your radio starts going.
Oh my gosh.
Can you imagine?
No.
Is that how you'd haunt people too? You just freak them out?
Yeah. But then I also feel like if they ever need it, you know what I mean? Like you would want to like pop in to like reassure them or like leave a little.
Yeah.
You know, people are like, oh, I see like hummingbirds or butterflies or, you know.
If Ethan was sleeping, you know what I would do? I would just like take the covers and
oh
just
my gosh,
yank them
pull
off.
them right off. That's scary. When that happens in movies, I'm like, oh.
Can you imagine?
No.
There's this new movie coming out. Rachel and I love scary movies. So that's why I said this is a good question for us because it's like our favorite thing is to watch scary movies.
Yeah, we always have. We used to sneak it when we were kids, even when we weren't allowed to.
Yeah. All the time. Well, we weren't. Yeah, we were definitely not allowed. Your mom did she let you? You know,
no, she didn't let me, but like they didn't like check really. And like we always watched TV downstairs.
Yeah.
And so you could hear them coming down the stairs. So we, you know, like on the remotes, they always had the flashback button.
Yes.
So we'd have like a Disney and then we'd do the scary movie. And then she'd come down the stairs and we go, bink, and we just quick flash to Disney.
My mom would be like, I'm sitting and watching with you. My mom was definitely, that's different with
your TV
wise.
too was like in the main, like she could
Living
hear
room.
everything from like the kitchen.
Yeah. Or we had a TV downstairs, but it was only a TV that you could watch DVDs
Yeah, I was
on.
gonna say I only remember watching movies down there.
Yeah, like it didn't
cable.
have cable or whatever. So if I wanted to watch a scary movie, I couldn't. So then when they would leave, we would go down to Blockbuster. It was right by the Taco Bell. So we would rent a movie, then we eat Taco Bell. Oh my gosh.
Get candy. Just
those were the freaking
I feel like
days.
we still do that.
We still do that.
We get pizza.
You know what we're planning
tomorrow.
Oh yeah, it is tomorrow. Yeah. I was like on Saturday, we are going to get Hong Thai, which if you guys are in Minnesota and you haven't had Hong Thai yet, Rachel introduced me to it.
So good.
When was the last time you've had it?
It's been a while.
Ugh. I literally thought about it the other
egg
day.
rolls are so good.
I have goosebumps. I'm so excited. I cannot wait. And we're gonna watch a movie. We haven't decided which movie yet, so
yeah,
we'll have to do that. So, okay, let's talk about questions people have. There was a couple good ones that I wanted to get in on. How to deal with my mom who makes me feel bad for hanging out with my bestie a lot. My mom, for a while growing up, was like, you need to stop hanging out with Rachel as much.
She did say that. I forgot.
Yeah, remember she thought you were like a bad influence? Mm-hmm. And really the bad influence is me.
I had access to more bad things.
Here, that was one of the questions. What was the first time you guys got drunk together? When was that? And we were young. We were
15, 16,
14, 15.
I feel like I didn't start drinking until 15.
I know I didn't have my license.
Yeah, I think 15.
So, and that was the first time. And we went, and my mom didn't know this at the time. She eventually figured it out. That's why she thought Rachel was a bad influence. But I would go to Rachel's house, then we go to our neighbor's house.
And her parents had a big cabinet full of alcohol.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like we have.
Yeah, but we would drink it and then fill it with water to like, oh my gosh, to think of how much alcohol, how expensive, like as an adult now, I'm like, yeah. We just watered down so much expensive alcohol.
And they probably had not a clue.
Because we would like mark it where it was.
You guys are smart. Some people wouldn't do that.
I know.
Now we're giving young people like, this is what you do. But yeah, that was the first time we got drunk together. So my mom at the time, I don't think she knew until I was like probably 16 or 17. There was like a specific party and she figured it out. And she said Rachel was a bad influence.
But I never, ever peer pressured you.
No.
Like, if anything, I was like, Court would come over and be like, we should drink tonight.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, okay. Because, like,
that I think is my, like, rebellious side coming out because my parents, our parents were so strict. I think there's, like, a really fine line of being, like, too strict.
Yeah.
And I definitely, my parents only have me and my sister. So I think my mom just really was like, I mean, and her growing up too was a lot different than us. So I felt like she had to like have us in a little bubble. And so when you get away from that for a little bit, you're like, I want to do everything that I can't do at home.
Right.
Somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do. But then my mom, I told her I got drunk and she was like totally fine with it. I was terrified.
I know.
Rachel went to Valley Fair and got caught drinking at Valley Fair, which to me, can you imagine going on rides?
No, that's the reason I went to the car and got caught is because I was like, I am not. We were drinking like Mike's Hard Lemonades,
Ick.
which is just gut rot.
Oh my God. Makes you, it's so sugary too.
I know. No.
I would never be able to go on a ride after drinking alcohol. Can you? I can't.
No. But yeah, no. I remember one time we went to a party.
Yeah.
And it was a Halloween party and the cops came and we happened to go to the bathroom at the time.
Oh my gosh, that was.
And this girl comes in and she said, there was people of age there and there were people who weren't of age.
Yeah.
And we were not of age.
And it was like a detached garage.
You were
wasn't
like
it?
a senior, I feel like.
Yes.
So we were.
I was dating Ethan.
Yep.
At the time.
Because, yeah, so we like kind of hid in a room full of junk. And like, I remember Courtney saying to me, if we get caught, my mom will never let me talk to you again. And I was like, oh,
no,
what?
and I was serious too.
You were dead serious. So I was so afraid. So we like buried ourselves in this room.
It was like full of chairs
and
there was
the whole
boxes
room was like,
and it was, and we crawled in and we stayed there. And then I remember being like, oh, I don't
it was
feel
like
good.
dark and then we started getting the spins. Oh my gosh. But the cops never came in the house.
No.
It was like a shed that had
God.
the party and they handed out minors to a few people out there. And we just
some
happened
people
to
went running and they got caught.
I know.
And we just happened to, really comes in handy. We go to the bathroom all the time. We have to pee so much because we just drink so much water. And we were like, thank you for telling us. Like, we're staying here.
Yeah.
So.
But now I'm really close with your mom. So it's funny.
Yeah. Now it's fine. It's totally fine. I think it's probably too, like, I don't know. My mom she's particular. It takes her a little bit, I think. She's like, well,
and to be fair, I was a party girl in high school.
Yes.
So like.
You had 3 minors.
It was fair.
It was fair. It's true. But I also was like, this is kind of fun. I like it too. But Rachel never was like, you have to drink with me. Right. If anybody, am more bossy than you are bossy.
Definitely.
Like if anybody's telling somebody what to do, it's like me being like, nope.
We should try this. And I'll be like, okay.
Let's do that. Yeah. Like I even tried a cigarette once and you're like, no.
Stop, Court.
We were talking about how you used to be a smoker. And Austin was like, she used to smoke. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's so weird to think about. But it was a phase for a while. I'm like, yeah, I remember you were going to quit before your wedding.
Yep.
And then you were like, heck no, it's a bad time to quit.
Stressful. And I was more of like a social smoker. Like all my friends smoked. Like, so yeah, like I wasn't like oh my gosh, I have to go out every hour or whatever. I could go like long stretches. It was just everyone was smoking.
And then it was like a habit at that point. And
and Josh always hated it. And then he was like, we're not going to have kids until you quit. And then I got pregnant with Jada and literally quit cold turkey. And I've never gone back. I just don't miss it.
No. When she would smoke, I'd be like, let me have it. And she'd be like, no. I'm like, give it to me.
Then she'd go and ask a different smoke. Like, she'd be like, I got one from Craig. I'm like, Court.
I got one from Jordan. Jordan's like, here you go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I just was like, I want to try it.
Yeah. You were just curious.
Yeah.
I feel like you want to try everything just once at least.
Yes. I won't eat anything, but I will try something. If it has anything to do with like, oh, this is different. I'm like, ooh, I want to try it. Like, oh, chop your hair. Let me try it. Let me have extensions. But yeah. Anyway. Okay. Are your husband's best friends? No, definitely not. They're not best friends, but they're
close.
They're very close.
Yeah. They'll like meet up at breweries and play cribbage and he's definitely one of Josh's like good friends.
Yeah. I guess they would consider each other. Poppy, would you pick a person?
Ma'am.
She's like going from one to the other.
On my thing.
I think over the years they're becoming more and more like closer. But I wouldn't say they're like they have friends,
like
but
core friends from high school that they talk to on like guy chats. But
yeah,
they all like live far away, so it's like convenient for them to.
And they get along so well.
Yeah, they're
Ethan
very
Josh
similar.
Is the funniest person on the planet. Like Josh speaks and Ethan's like. Even Austin, I'm like, oh my God, you guys.
Austin's always snickering when Josh is around.
Josh loves it. Josh like
he does because he doesn't get that at home. Because I'm like, your jokes are dumb.
You're annoying.
Yeah,
stop.
I'm used to it now. Like
I feel like if you're with somebody who's a jokester a lot, you're kind of like, oh
you
my
get
God.
used to their jokes, and then you're just like, I mean, sometimes I'll like, he'll be like, oh, like you smiled.
Got it. Okay. What would you two do if one of you moved far away? I need advice. Oh my gosh. We would move immediately.
Yeah, I don't know if I could handle that. She literally freaked me out when she told me once that she was going to move to Florida. And I was like,
I also told you I was going to move to Wisconsin.
you guys, how mean is she? We were in high school. She randomly goes to me at church, where I always used to sit with Court and her parents at church. And she looks over at me and was like, I have to tell you something. And I was like, what? And she was so dead ass serious.
Dead ass.
And she was like, we're moving to Wisconsin. I'll never forget it. I remember she was on the left of me and I lifted up my leg and I went like this and started crying. And then she was like, Maha, just kidding. I was like, you still do that all the time. She randomly pulls shit out of her ass.
I do.
Tells me stuff and I'll be like, for real? And she'll be like, no, I just made that up. I'm like, why?
I don't know.
Like, where does that even come from?
Listen, I feel like I told you that because I knew it was really believable because I would go to
your
Wisconsin.
Mom's from Wisconsin. Your grandma was there.
Remember I went to the Hoax all the time and visited. And I thought, like, I want to see what Rachel's reaction would be if I told her I was leaving. And I feel like that's so my mom, because my mom being like, oh, I'm going to play dead for your dad just to see his reaction. I'm like, that's what I did.
And it clearly wasn't good. Like, I was sad.
Like, oh, she's crying. Okay, I'm just kidding. But I do make up the most randomest shit. Even Ethan is like, really? I'm like, no, I'm just kidding. Made that up.
There's only a couple times where I'll go, you just made that up. And she'll go, I did. I'm like, okay. But like most of the time you can get me.
I feel like if nobody even knew me, I could just literally just dead, like be like, and that's funny because you're saying I don't like liars. And I'm like, I don't lie, but I make it up. I'm just, you know what I mean?
Well, you immediately, it's like a joke. It's like a jokester, not like a lie. I mean, like when people straight up lie.
Yeah, I can't do that. Like if I'm straight up, like there's truth, I'm like lying about something. I'm like, I immediately feel guilty. I feel guilty if I know something and I haven't told Rachel yet. Like I'm like, I have to tell you something. It could be something like stupid. But I'm like, I feel like I'm lying if I haven't told her. But yeah, I feel like I just can be really serious. You do that. You remember you made up your mom's name was Frances?
Yeah.
I'm like, where did you make that up?
I just don't think to do it to you, I guess.
Or like on the fly, you just like don't think about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll just make up a fact. Have you ever felt closer to Rachel than Eth? My best friend comes to me over her hubby. And it's hard. I'm struggling. I love her, but it's hard to be there 24/7. I feel like we have our husbands have been, we were friends before we like were with our husbands.
Yeah.
So I will tell Rachel things before I even tell Ethan things.
Yeah.
Or I tell you things that I know. Sometimes Ethan, he's more sensitive. So like if I'm talking to Rachel about like my job and somebody said something, you know, like Instagram or whatever, somebody said something really annoying, I'm talking to her about it. I'm not talking to Ethan about it.
Ethan takes it very personally.
Super. And then he gets like, it almost ruins his day.
Right.
Where he'll like obsessively think about it. And I'm like, I just need to vent about it for a second and then I'm over it.
Right. It's like, yeah, it's hard because I feel like there's a different closeness with your husband than your best friend.
Yes.
But like it depends on the situation.
Yes.
Like when I got in a car accident, of course, the first person I called was Josh. But like there's certain things that happen and the first person I want to talk to is you.
Right.
You know, it's just like there's different situations.
But also I feel like because we're so close, I think our husbands are so used to us.
Yeah. Like
how we are that it's never bothered them.
Yeah, because it's not like
you're choosing
Ethan
me over Josh.
Came in after me or vice versa. Like we've all three known each other just as long. So like I've always been there.
Yeah.
Since you've been dating Ethan.
Yeah. And
you know,
Ethan's
and
never
before.
been like, oh, I'm annoyed you told Rachel and you didn't tell me.
Yeah.
He's like, he'll
He says though sometimes like, don't tell Rachel, or like, are you gonna tell Rachel? And Court's like, duh.
Yeah.
Like Eve.
He gets like self-conscious about certain things and he's like, did you tell Rachel? I'm like, yes, I obviously did. And he's like, Court. I'm like, and then he's over it, but he knows. I'm like,
Yeah.
She knows everything, literally everything.
Yeah.
Okay, this is also another really good question. Do you ever disagree on how each of you decided to raise your kids?
Oh.
No.
I feel like we're very similar parenting wise.
Yeah. We're similar in general.
Yeah.
But I don't think either of us, we know to like, those are your kids. I'm not going to sit and like be like, I can't believe you let Jada this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
Because that's annoying. You know what I mean?
Right.
I do not like, even my sister raises her kids totally different than I raise my kids.
Same.
And it is not something for me to like comment on to them.
Yeah.
Or even me to get upset about because I'm like, well, they're not my kids.
Yeah. Like I feel like we both know like if we see our kids doing something, we could be like, Jada, knock it off, or Grayson, stop. And that doesn't bother us, but
it's either Gray or Jada typically. Like, Gray, just leave them alone. But yeah, I think parenting, even when I'm watching like Real Housewives and stuff, and I'm like, the amount of times that people bring up like other people's children or like how they're raising their kids, I'm like, why do you even feel like you can comment on that?
it's like,
you know what I mean?
I would hate that as a mom.
Yeah.
And so I just would never do that to somebody, even if I don't agree.
No.
I would never like question or,
no.
you know,
Yeah.
I would just make a mental note like, that's not how I would do it.
Yeah.
But
That's
to
it.
each their own. I mean, we're all different. We all have, I think a lot of how we grew up is like what's kind of shaped us too. Like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Or I want to do, you know, like.
Yeah. I feel like you as an adult, you just like pick and choose from like what you're growing up with. My parents were like, I aspire to be them all the time because I think they're great parents. But also like we were so what is it called? Like not constricted, but we were so like they were so protective.
Yeah.
That I'm like, I want my kids to be a little bit more like, okay, you learn how to do things. But like me and my sister, like I said, we're so different, but we're not like commenting on people's parenting.
For sure.
Do you ever feel like you're in competition with each other, maybe without realizing it? I do. No.
I don't. In competition, no.
No. I mean, there's nothing. I will say, we're both very competitive people.
Right.
Like if we're on a game, we want to freaking win it.
Yeah.
But like we're not sitting here being like, I'm trying to be better than you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Or you're trying to be better than me in like whatever area.
Right.
No, I don't think so. Oh, okay. So there's lot of, do you disagree on parenting styles? I think this question goes along with the parenting question. My BFF of 20 plus years are now acquaintances because of the vid and our different views. I feel like this is such a sensitive topic.
Yeah.
But also I feel like, I don't know, that whole thing with COVID and everything, I feel like it broke up so many families and friends. It's actually so heartbreaking.
It's crazy.
Like I feel I have an opinion about it, but
thankfully I feel like politically, like we're just kind of always on the same page because we grew up with parents that were the same at a church. Like that's just like our husbands are very like similar in their views, so it hasn't been an issue for us. But
no,
it definitely has been issues in family, Josh's family.
Yeah.
They all still speak, but there's been heated conversations. There's been, you know, and it's just wild to me when like it's like people just cut people off. It's very sad.
And I feel like there's such this weird thing now that, and this can kind of go along with like, okay, parenting, views on politics. whatever. I just think you have to be super open-minded. You can't just go, this is the right way.
I know.
And that
drives me nuts when people are like, I'm right, you're wrong. And like, there's no room for discussion. Like,
we're not even going to listen to each other.
We've all grown up differently, come from different backgrounds, experienced different things. And that's okay. Like, I don't know why it's just like, we can't agree to disagree these days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and if you think one thing and I disagree, I'm not going to sit and debate with you about it.
Right. Because you're not going to change your mind and I'm not going to change mine. Like, that's like your core beliefs at the end of the day. Like, you can't just talk someone into something different.
No. And then these people having like full-on Facebook fights. And I'm like, do you think you're changing anybody's mind here?
Right.
You're not changing my mind. I just feel like it looks bad. I'm like, you're fighting with somebody online that you really, at the end of the day, sometimes you don't even know this person. Like, it's my aunt's cousin's sister.
Yeah.
And she's saying this, that.
But even like at the end of the day, when you're like, you know me, like, like judge me off my character and like how I've treated you, and like not like, oh, you voted for so-and-so, or like you got the shot or you didn't, you know, like that's just.
And you got the shot, I'm not talking to you. Like, why, if that's what they wanted to do and they felt like they wanted to.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
That's all that should matter. And I feel like that goes along with this whole cancel culture that I'm like, somebody made a mistake. I looked on your Twitter 10 years ago and you said this, and you're like, we don't all grow and evolve as people. Like, you're just going to cancel somebody like that said something this many years ago or made a mistake once. Like, nobody's ever made a mistake ever in their life.
Yeah, cancel culture is terrible.
It's so toxic.
It leaves just no room for error. And as humans, like, we all make mistakes.
Everyone. And if you're not making a mistake, then I just don't feel like you're growing. You're just staying the same because you're so scared to like not make a mistake. And that's
how you, like, like you said,
that's how you learn. Yeah. There was this conference and they were talking about your brain really remembers when you make a mistake versus like all the times that you like did something correctly. They remember, it remembers the one time. So like if you're like, oh, my tire went out, and you're trying to do it and you forget whatever, your brain is gonna like literally remember the one time that you made a mistake, and you're like, oh, I remember when I did this last time. I have to do it this way. So I'm like, why is everybody so afraid to like make a mistake or be like, oh, you're not perfect, so canceled, we don't like you anymore. I think it's so toxic. But that being said, Rachel and I, even if we did disagree, I feel like we are very like
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Like, we wouldn't sit and argue about it all day long.
No. I don't even like doing that. It takes so much energy to just sit and fight about stuff that you're like, you're not going to change my mind.
Right.
Like, let's get over it, okay?
I know.
Any experience with postpartum depression in the thick of it now? We have not talked about this.
We haven't. Maybe very briefly.
So, do you want to go ahead?
I think that I had it with Jada, but it was like when I was in it, I didn't know that I was in it because she was my first baby.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you'll have the baby blues. And so I just chalked it up to that. But I feel like it wasn't till later down the line, my mom was like, I think that you had postpartum. Yeah. And I was like, I think you're right. When Jada was first born, like, I just remember like looking at her and I didn't feel that immediate connection.
Yeah.
And all I kept thinking was, we weren't ready for this. Like, I wasn't ready for this. We rushed it. We shouldn't have done it. Like, all these, it's like your life literally turns upside down and everything changes.
She was a colicky baby.
So colicky.
Like, the moment she was born, I remember being like, why is she crying so much?
Yeah. I remember asking the nurses, like, she won't do this. All she does is cry. And they just were like, oh yeah, the second day is hard. And here, watch a shaking baby video. And like, and you're just like, I need help. They don't like take the babies like they used to.
No.
Like, they're like in your room all the time. Like, Josh's mom was like, Josh, you should go back to work. Because Rachel has the nurses there to help her. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
They don't take the baby unless it was to take a bath. That's it.
Yeah. They pretty much leave you alone.
Right.
Which I like. But also, if you're a new mom, it's so... you're almost like, especially because we were so young.
Right.
I mean, I was like 20 when I had Austin.
Yeah.
And I remember being like,
I know. I remember like literally being like, we just leave now? Like you're letting me leave with this baby?
I know. I remember getting home and then like being really sad because I felt like I don't have anybody to like, Ethan went to work. I'm now scared and there's no nurses for me to like ask a question to be like, am I doing this correctly?
Right.
You just like, you never know. But yeah, no, I feel like we both kind of, because I didn't have that with Austin either.
Right.
Where I was like, oh my gosh, this like, I'm immediately like, they say, so many people talk very highly about like when they have their first baby. And I looked at him and they made it seem like all this like butterflies and rainbows. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, am I the only one that didn't immediately feel that?
I feel like I cried every day for like 2 months.
Yeah.
I literally would like cry when she would cry because I was like, you cry all the time and I'm so frustrated and like.
And there was nothing like you could really do. She was really, and at the time, Rachel and Josh actually lived with us when they had Jada, and we got pregnant at the same time, like a month apart.
Yeah, Gray and Jada are a month apart.
Mm-hmm. And well, Gray was an absolute different baby than Jada.
Yeah, it was like a godsend to be living with you because like they would come down and take her.
Yeah.
Because it's like I swear they could just hear her screaming, and they would just like, no, like, I'm going to take her for a second so you can like shower or like have a second. And then I literally would like go in the shower and cry because I was like, this is hard.
Yeah. Honestly, really having and Josh was gone a lot for work right around that, like right after you had Jada. And I can't imagine like not having somebody. Because my mom, she would come over after I had my kids and then she'd stay the night. And I remember being like, oh.
Yeah, she did do that.
So when you were like, I would hear Jada, I'm like, Eth, I feel like we should go grab her. I feel like Rachel needs a break.
I know. And I remember my mom saying to me, why didn't you tell me?
Yeah.
And I just was like, I felt shameful.
Yeah.
The only person I told was you.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh, I did feel that with Gray. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm not a bad mom. Like, I'm not.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to tell anybody. You just feel like something's wrong with you.
And then you have a baby and so many people tell you, you should be so thankful, which I obviously you are, but your body goes through all these crazy emotions that you're like not ready for.
Yeah.
It's so scary because you're like, you're pregnant, you have all these hormones and then you aren't pregnant and you're bleeding and your milk is coming in and
your
painful.
Body's totally different.
Yeah.
You have stretch marks. You have like, it's just like you go through so much in that like 10 months.
It's a lot.
And then you get this baby and then you're just like, what do I do?
People are like, be happy. I'm like
some people can't have kids, you know, and it's like, I'm still allowed to feel my feelings too. Yeah. I think at the end of the day.
Because I feel like if somebody tells you, and I felt the same way about like breastfeeding because I was like, I'm depressed.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm the only one who can feed the baby at that time.
Right.
But then people will tell you like all these things like, oh, it's better for the baby. Some people can't get pregnant. Be thankful. So then you almost feel like you can't say anything because you're like, well, if I'm going to say something, somebody's going to tell me like, basically you're a bad mom for just even having those feelings.
Well, yeah, I remember we were driving somewhere and we were in the car with Grayson and she was like, so I think I'm going to stop breastfeeding. And then like went, and like burst into tears. And I was like, Court.
Yeah.
That's fine. Like, do what you need to do. Like, because Grayson ate all the time.
Oh my God. That baby.
He was like on your boob 24/7. And it was like impossible for her to get anything done.
Yeah.
And I just think you were overwhelmed and like.
And then Austin and Nevaeh, they were like, Nevaeh was 4. Austin was like 8 at the time.
Yeah.
And I just remember being like, I can't, like, I feel like I'm sitting and doing just like feeding the baby, which is, I mean, obviously, feeding Grayson was top priority. But then I'm like, I want somebody else to do it.
But it also is frustrating as a mom when you know that you just fed him and everyone's go-to is like, oh, I think he's hungry. And you're like, no, he's not. Like,
fed him a minute ago.
For like, Josh would always be like, oh, it was his first time being a dad. So he'd be like, here, Jade is hungry. And I'm like, no, she's not.
Yeah.
She's just mad. I don't know why she's mad.
She's just mad.
At the end of the day, we found out she was allergic to my breast milk, which was making her get like, she would throw up all the time. She had like bloody rash at like a week old. I remember you being like, I have never seen this on a newborn baby.
A diaper rash. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. And then she had really bad baby acne. And I remember my mom just finally was like, why don't you try switching to formula just to see? And she was like a different kid after that. Mm-hmm. And then that's finally when I feel like at like 4 months when like I finally started like, oh, like you here's her personality coming out. Yeah. And you aren't just this miserable baby all the time. And like, that's when I really started feeling like reconnected with her because like those first few months were hard.
I feel like if you're somebody going through postpartum depression like right now, if you have just like one friend or like your mom, like be open and honest about it because it is at the end of the day very scary to say it because you do feel shameful, guilty.
Even going to the doctor, they specifically had questionnaires to try to like find it, and I would lie. It would be like, do you cry every day? And I would say nope. And I just wish now I would do it so differently. I wish I was honest with my doctor. I wish that
because then you just have like, they're like, okay, it's very normal. We can get you on whatever medicine you need to like help
balance you out and
balance it for
I probably would have been a better person and a better mom at the time if I had been honest.
When you look back, it's there's so many things that I wish I would do. But I honestly probably would have never told a doctor either. Yeah. Because I'm like, I don't know you and I don't want to admit that I'm crying every day. I wasn't one crying every day, but I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? But I also was so young, so I felt like I was like, I don't know what I'm doing anyway.
Right.
I literally just graduated high school.
Yeah. When you're a new mom, you just gotta wing it, and it was totally different.
But if you have one person to talk to, even if it's your partner, like, because I don't think that I told Ethan until I was like breastfeeding, and I was like, you know what? I'm looking at you sleeping right now, and I'm so pissed off at you.
It never even registered to me that it was postpartum until my mom said it, like months once I finally told her.
And do you feel like you had it with Hal?
No.
Yeah.
Total different experience with Hal. I feel like the second time you just like know what to expect. She was a way better baby. Like,
I had the opposite. So like Austin was a super good baby. Yeah. So chill. He's just like, he's always been like that. Just super chill. And then Nevaeh. Yeah. She was colicky.
Yeah, she was.
She was like
she was tiny. I mean, she was 5'15". Yeah, she had like
she didn't gain weight. So she immediately had to be like on formula. And at the time we were like, I don't even know if we can afford that because it's so expensive. Yeah. Like budgeting for formula.
I remember that when we were really
like, it's so
we would
expensive.
Like make $250 last 2 weeks, and 50 of that had to go to a Costco sized formula.
Yeah.
That would last us the month.
When I switched from Austin, from breast milk to formula, I remember we got the Target brand because it was cheaper than the other brand, and we didn't have a Costco membership at that time. But it's so expensive.
It's even way worse now. Like, it's insane.
I can't even imagine. Okay. Has Rachel ever been mad at Eth on your behalf? And how did she deal with it? Same question for you. Yes, we've both been mad at our husbands for each other. There's like multiple times that it's come up in my brain. Yeah. That I'm like, nope, yep, we have.
Oh, for sure.
But like,
Court's like made Ethan apologize to me.
Yeah.
Because I was like so upset.
This was the time, and we're not, I do want to say, is it preface or preface?
Preface,
I think. Okay, I think. Every time I say it wrong, and then people make fun of me. It's fine. I do want to preface saying this, like, Ethan and I's like separation, almost divorce. Yeah. Rachel's been through the whole thing with us. And that was part of this time of us.
We were like living with you. It was like at the very end when things started getting
real crazy.
It was like before Gray, and then you got pregnant with Gray, and then there was a rough patch
when I was pregnant with him.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was around that time.
Yep.
Rachel was crying. I was crying. It was emotional, but I'm not going to go into detail about the details of it. But he apologized to Rachel for just things, I guess. I don't even know how to say it without saying it.
It's just very private matters, so it's like you don't want to throw that out in the world, but
no. It is, but it's like he apologized, then we talked, and moving on from that, it's like I feel like we're both really good about, like, I've been mad at Josh before too on your behalf.
And I
like
been mad at Josh.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Like freaking texting each other about it. But we, at the end of the day, we're both like, okay, people make mistakes.
We are not grudge holders.
No.
So
if I get a genuine apology where somebody understands where I'm coming from, I understand where they're coming from, and we apologize, it is literally, we're over it. Right. I'm over it. We'll talk about it again. Like Rachel and I have obviously had fights, and we'll talk about it now. Yeah. But we're not like, I'm still pissed at you, by the way, for
like harboring feelings of resentment or whatever.
Yeah. I think that's a very trait that we both have that I'm glad we both have.
For sure.
Because if I will, like I will say, if we don't get apology or there's something that is never resolved, I will stew on it.
So will I.
Yeah.
Like Josh will be like the kind of person, like we get in a big fight and then like 4 hours later he comes up to me. He's like, so what's for dinner today? And I'm like, I'm not talking to you right now. You know, like
you didn't apologize.
Like, yeah. Like I'm like, we haven't talked about it. So I'm still mad at you.
It's funny because Josh and Ethan are totally different when it comes to that.
Totally.
Like Josh, it's like pulling out something from him to like make him apologize.
He's very,
like he'll be like, you're not over it.
Oh, we're still mad about that. Like I'm like,
I'd be like, oh my God.
So he leaves me alone and he's like, whatever.
Oh my God.
Where Ethan is like, I need to talk about it now. I need to talk about it now. And he
I'm
obsesses
obsessing about it. And it's like his anxiety, because like even when we talk about it in therapy, she's like, what do you think will happen if you leave Courtney alone? And he's like, I feel like she's going to divorce me. Yeah. I'm like,
he's always had that, like
that fear.
It's like his biggest fear, I think, in life. And so he just can't handle.
Yeah.
He'll be like, we need to fix it right now. We need to fix it right now.
Knocking at my door. I'm like, I need a minute. I know you need a minute. Josh will give you days. Ethan gives me like 3 minutes.
But I wish he didn't give me days, because then I'm just like, are we ever going to talk about our fight that happened last week?
Yeah.
Because I'm not like, he can tell I'm giving him the cold shoulder, you know? Yeah. Like, I don't ignore him, but I'm not necessarily being all fuzzy, you know?
Yeah. And he's like, whatever. It literally bothers Ethan to his core if anybody is mad at him. Yeah. Like he's like,
he obsesses for sure.
We need to figure it out right now.
Well, I remember one time I got mad at Josh and I hung up on him. Mm-hmm. And he didn't call me back. And Court's like, he's not going to call you back? And I was like, nope, he won't call me back. And she was like, I've seen you hang up on Ethan. And he immediately calls. If she ignores it, he calls again. He calls again. Like,
and then if he knows I'm with Rachel, he's calling Rachel.
Yeah, then he'll call me. And I'm like, Cord, like, you better.
I'm like, I just need a freaking second, Ethan.
Yeah.
It's so funny how different they are.
In that regard, for sure.
Yeah. But also they're whatever. They're
a lot alike, too.
They're a lot alike. What's the craziest thing you've done together?
Oh. Craziest.
The only thing I can think of is like back when we were in like high school and we went snow tubing with Jason and you hit a stop sign.
Yeah, had him pull us on the back of his truck.
Yeah, we did some crazy stuff with him.
Yeah.
Like he brings out our like, let's do it. We're like, okay. Like, I have a truck. I'll drive you around. Like, how scary is that?
I would never let my kid, even on doing that on a 4-wheeler would be crazy. We're doing it on the back of a truck.
I know.
With a rope and a snow tube.
His truck tires were massive too. He could just barrel through it. My parents are like, dangerous. Fine. No big deal. I know. I think about the stuff that we did back then. I'm like, what were we?
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay. The key to good friendship while going through hard shit. Stages, marriage, kids. The key.
Oh, man. I think just being there and making your presence known.
Yeah. We've both gone through really hard shit.
Yeah.
Josh is deployed.
Yeah. It was a blindside for me. So it was like, yeah.
He deployed. And then Nevaeh had her stroke, type 1, brain surgeries. I think the biggest thing for me personally, and I know this for Rachel, is just doing something. It doesn't even have to be like one of the biggest things for me when Nevaeh was, I don't know if she was having a brain surgery or she had her stroke or whatever, but she cleaned my makeup room. And I was like, you have no idea how much, like, and it's not like I even asked you.
Yeah, I think
just
that was
did it.
stroke.
Her stroke.
Yeah, because I remember just feeling so helpless.
Yeah.
And and you were in the hospital for a week.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to go to her house. I'm going to do laundry. I'm going to clean her makeup room. Like, I just didn't.
Yeah. And I didn't ask her. And that's one thing that I think both of us can attest to. When somebody asks, what can I do? Even if you're going through the hardest shit of your whole life, you're not going to go, I want you to do my laundry.
Right.
You just go, nothing. It's fine. I don't know. You don't know. Right. But for me, I knew Rachel when Josh was he was deployed or whatever. I knew she's not going to ask for us to babysit the kids. Right. But we're just going to do it. I'll just be like, hey, Ethan's going to watch the girls. Let's go to a movie. Let's go shopping. Let's go whatever.
Yeah. Ethan watched my girls a lot.
A lot.
So we could hang out and just
be normal
one-on-one time, or one time he cleaned my whole house.
Yes,
he was babysitting them there, and I came back and my house was back.
Remember he cleaned your toaster or your toaster up? Yeah. I've never seen it so clean. That sounds like something Ethan would do.
Totally. He just, and I just feel like you prioritized coming over a lot more because I literally had no adult to talk to. I mean, alone. I had a 3 and an 18-month-old, and I just felt like I went days sometimes without speaking to an adult other than Josh on FaceTime now and again. It was I need human interaction.
I need adult conversation. Yeah. And I feel like when you are going through something really, really hard, for me and for you, it's I want to talk about anything else. Yeah. I don't want to talk about Nevaeh's going through brain surgery. If anybody were to bring it up to me at the time, last year, I would immediately start crying. And I'm I don't want to be crying all the time. So just how's
almost
Nevaeh?
You need a distraction.
Yeah. I'm tell me about your drama. Tell me about your and
I
you
need
were the same.
Talk about real life stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Just and feel like it's normal. Right. Even though it's not. I think just being there and being oh, I'm gonna bring you coffee, and then you talk about anything but what you're going through.
Because when you're going through something that big, people who don't know you as well, the first thing they want to do is acknowledge that thing.
Which I get.
Oh, how's Josh? Totally. Yeah. So when you're with your people, I feel you're I
don't want to talk about it. Right. And if you do talk about it, it just is going to come up in a, I feel you're very good at not bringing up Nevaeh's stuff. Yeah. But then I would just
naturally bring it up to me.
But then I don't feel I'm crying because I feel I'm more in control of well, the doctor said this, that, and the other thing or whatever. So yeah, I think.
Well, sometimes Court will even just tell me I'm not ready to talk about it right now, and I'll say okay. Yeah,
I feel I know. I'm just I personally, as just a human, I hate crying. Yeah, it's I hate it. I'm also an Enneagram 8, and if you know anything about Enneagrams, you know they don't like showing emotion. So if I'm crying, I feel it's just such a big deal. Right. Because I never do. If I shed a tear, Ethan's you're a human. I'm I know, but I don't want to be. So anyways, that's our advice on that. Do you still work with Court? Love the friendship you share with us.
I sure do.
She sure does.
Yeah, I do all her Canva stuff, and I do links for her and
organizing
emails and calendar and oh my gosh,
Poppy, honey, come here.
Honey, go to Court.
Come here. She's a come here, sassy girl. Come here.
She's like such a
she's like a clunky puppy still.
I know, she doesn't do the jumps like Poppy.
Poppy literally can launch. Like, it's impressive. Honey's like, oh, I'm going to climb up here.
Yeah.
Russ does that. I'm like,
Russ, I want you to just drag me up.
Yeah. Rachel's worked for me now for...
Since 2020.
Yeah, holy cow. So almost
it just
4
started
years.
like one day a week.
Yeah.
I did like 4 hours. I would come over here, and then it was like, oh, I'm going to get you an iPad. Can you do emails and whatever? And then it kind of just went from there.
Yeah, Rachel's about to be full-time.
I love it.
It's nice because we both, I feel like there's a lot of parts of friendship that shouldn't work together or live together.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of friendships break up because of people, if you live together.
Yep.
Or if you're working for your friend.
Yeah. I mean, I lived with my college friend, and we are not friends anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, we're fine.
You're fine. Yeah.
But like, we didn't talk for a long time. Like, it ended very badly.
Yeah. And I feel like we lived together and it was totally fine.
Yeah.
And then we work together and it's super easy. But I feel like too, we know each other so well that it's just like,
yeah,
it's easy.
It's super easy.
It's not like, oh, I'm
like, I feel like I know
you around and like,
right. Like, I work from home. It's not like I'm always with you when we're working. It's just like, I know how you think. I know,
Yeah. Do your other friends ever feel any feelings about you and Rach being best friends? And if yes, how do you navigate that? Not that anybody's told us.
Yeah, I feel like people know at the end of the day, like, we're a package deal.
Yeah.
Like,
I think everyone that our whole friend group
yeah,
just knows we're best friends.
Right.
And like, when we're together, it's like it's just like obvious.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I mean, we mingle in our group because we have a bigger group of friends.
Right.
And we're not like, if we're at one of our parties, we're not like, oh, we're just talking the whole time
to each other. Yeah.
Yeah. We're like bouncing around.
Well, a lot of our friends now, it's like we met later in life and we met, it's just like together. Like,
yeah.
Or
I don't think anybody knows us without the other.
Right.
Like, they just know that we are a package deal, and that goes for
I mean, I
too.
hope we do a good job of making sure people don't feel excluded or whatever.
Well, we do have separate friendships.
Yeah.
Like, we have our friendship, and then we have, like, I prioritize my other friends too, but like, we are just always been so close.
Right.
But I do feel like it is rare to have a friendship like we have. So,
yeah,
for as long as we've been friends and all the things.
It really is. Like, I'm just very thankful for it, because I'm like, we know everything. I've gone through every stage, like
everything. Which, it's funny when some people like will say, I shouldn't say some people, just like, people will be like, this is my best friend, and then this is my best friend. I'm like,
yeah, they call like everybody their best friend. I know, like, that always like triggered us. Like, we're always like, you can only have one best friend.
You can't have multiple best friends.
Yeah.
Like, we have like one best friend, and it's been our best friend since we were freaking 6.
I know.
Probably. Nevaeh and Kate, they remind me so much of like us, because Kate will leave. And I specifically remember my dad saying this to me, but Kate will leave and Nevaeh like immediately is FaceTiming her. And I'm like, she just left.
Yeah.
And my dad will be like, I remember saying that to you. I'm like,
about me? Yeah. Like, we to call on the phone, or
you'd
like
leave, and I'm like, oh, and he'd be like, who are you talking to? I'm like, Rachel. And he's like, what? You just saw her.
I know.
I'm like,
us,
I don't know.
Talking on the house phone.
They like sit on FaceTime and they're not doing anything. They're just like hanging out on FaceTime. Yeah. I'm like, me and Rachel literally were like, oh, it's been like an hour. Your ear gets hot.
Yeah.
Talking so long.
But even now, I feel like we're at least communicating either through TikTok, Instagram, text message, like all day long.
All of them. Marco Polo.
Yeah.
We'll do audio.
Sometimes
voices.
we have multiple chats going at one time, where she's like messaging me on Instagram and then also on like
text.
Yeah.
But it's different. It's a different conversation.
But it's like going on at the same time.
Yes. I'll see her pop up like, oh yeah, this talking about like, I don't know, like.
And then sometimes we'll just shift the core, be like, so anyways, like the message you just sent, I'm like, yeah, let's just get on one stream here.
One page. Well, anyways, I think we should close it out now.
Wrap it
up.
I mean,
we could literally keep going. But Rachel has, it's 1:30 already. So
I know my kids get off the bus at 2:30. So
they,
early.
They get off so early. Like my kids are like Gray's like home at 4.
I know. Sometimes I'm like just finishing like a late lunch. And I'm like, you're already here.
I know.
Like,
for real. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed and we'll see ya next time.
bye.
Bye. Is it this one? Oh, yeah.